Hi, my name is Carl Jonas, and in this video I'm going to share a little bit about my background, and more specifically I'm going to share the event that is centered around everything that I'm sharing with the world, whether it be through music or facilitating a workshop or a retreat. It all connects to this event and the realization that it produced. And we have to go back in time till 2007, New Year, and I had been, up until this moment, I had been on a search that was centered around the question, who am I? I had been very dedicated to this search, and it had now led me to this New Year's retreat that was led by a man named Nukunu. I had never met this guy before, and so I just went there for a chance. And somewhere in the middle of the retreat, we were engaged in an exercise. At the end of the day, in the evening session, we were engaged in an inquiry where, if you and I were to do this inquiry, it would start with, for example, me asking you this question: how is it to experience I am? And then you would answer me. You would give me your answer to this question for 5 minutes, and I would just sit in silence and receive whatever you would answer to this question. And then we would change roles, so you would ask me the same question and I would reply to that. And then we would change partner a few times, maybe 5-6 times. And the last partner I got, I was together with a woman that I had an attraction to, a romantic attraction, and it was mutual. It was a mutual attraction, and we had kind of avoided this because we were in this retreat. But when we met in this exercise, we couldn't hide it. It was very obvious that it felt more like a date or something. And so this was really a very new energetic reality that I was asking this question: how is it to experience I am? And when she asked me this question, I first replied with pretty much what I've told my previous partners, that it's really silent, it's really still. And then something very unexpectedly came out of me that I hadn't said to my previous partners, and it kind of took me by surprise a bit. But I said, but it's strange, because it's no matter how silent or still it gets, it's as if there is something here behind the back of my head that I never get to see. And the moment I actually said this to her and simultaneously touched this place here, there was a realization that it's actually nothing here. It's just hair and skull. And right after this interaction, Nukunu told us to thank our partner and sit up and close our eyes, because we were going to end this exercise. And then he said the following: just let go. No one has ever got it. No one will ever get it. Buddha never got it. Jesus never got it. Ramana Maharshi never got it. I never got it. And you will never get it. Just let go. And when I heard the words Buddha never got it, it was like everything just stopped. And I had the sense that I was standing in front of a mountain wall, and everywhere I tried to focus my attention, there was just this feeling of a mountain wall that I could not project. And so that was a very profound sense of feeling checkmate. Like, where do you go when there's no way to go? When there's nowhere to go, where do you go? And it was not this depressive checkmate, it was like relieving checkmate. Like, and also like when I heard the words Buddha never got it, it was like, wow, if Buddha never got it, it's completely out of the question for this dude. It's just no way. And in this feeling, like in this liberating sense of hopelessness, that has nothing to do with being depressive or disappointing. It was like, it's actually hopeless. What I've been trying to do here for 10 years, it's actually, it cannot be done the way I thought it could be done. And there was a knowing that that realization was very profound. And from there, in this energetic checkmate, I just fell down to the floor out of the meditation pose, and as I fell, suddenly there was a contraction in my heart area that went boom. And the moment, in the very moment that it exploded or disintegrated, there was an instant knowing that that contraction had been there all the time, and it was simultaneously known, immediately known, that there could have been no awareness of this contraction unless it disintegrated. As long as it was there, it was impossible to know that it was there. It was only its disintegration that could reveal that it had been there. The next thing that happened was that I sat up, and the first thing I noticed was like my body was so relaxed. I couldn't believe that it was possible to have this enormous sense of relaxation in the body. And as I started to look around on all the other people in the room, there was this kind of a new quality to everyone. And it was as if they were just fitting in so perfectly well. And it was not that they suddenly were fitting in. It was like a recognition that they had always been fitting in, but I had just not seen it before. And it was linked to this contraction. And I started, our day and our evening session was over, so I was going out for my usual evening walk before I went to bed. But I didn't get far, because after maybe 20 or 30 steps, I was totally mesmerized by the little creek that was running by. And I had heard this creek many times during the retreat, because you heard it every time you went outside the meditation hall. It was so close. But now it was as if normally the sound that I had heard from the river was like this, and now it had expanded. So the sound quality of the sound, or the information of the sound, the width of the sound was different. And it was so beautiful. And at the same time, it was like, yes, of course. This is, how could I not hear this? This is what has always been here. This is what it actually sounds like, the running water. But somehow I've never heard it. I've never heard it before, not what I can recall with these ears. And during all this time, also my mind had been really activated in a sense like, what is this? What has happened? Is this that thing awakening or enlightenment? And there was no answers to be found. It was just like the mind coming and wanting answers, trying to define what had happened. And it was completely impossible. Nothing. And as I was standing there in this awe of the sound of the river or the creek, and this mind, what has happened? What has happened? What is this? It's amazing. What is it? What is it? Wanting a definition, wanting an explanation. A sentence suddenly arose in my awareness that said, it's a peace that passes all understanding. And through that sentence, this mind's attempt to try to grasp it, to understand it, to define it, just fell apart. And in the absence of that grasping, there was a realization that I have always been this. And there was never a moment that this, whatever you would call it, presence, in inexpressible actuality, was always the case, had always been the case, was the only thing that can only be the case. And looking back on my 10 years of seeking, I couldn't help but laugh hysterically. What a joke. I've been looking for something that was here all the time. And I started to laugh, and I laughed, and I laughed. I stood there for maybe 40 minutes, and I couldn't stop laughing. Then I felt, okay, I need to go back inside and catch some sleep. So I went back inside, and I tried to brush my teeth, but I couldn't, basically I couldn't do it because I was just laughing. And it's really hard to brush your teeth when you're laughing hysterically. When you can't stop laughing, I do not recommend to try to brush your teeth. It won't go very well. So I went to bed, and I still couldn't stop laughing. So I was laughing for, well, what was it, 7-8 hours in the bed. And in that night of laughter, the first musical element came out of me. And the rest of the retreat, during the remaining days of the retreat, there were all kinds of you know, amazing experiences, amazing realizations of energy, of love and beauty. It felt I was having so much joy and love into the system that it felt like I was upgrading, like it was just preparing this body to just be to just embody love, embody joy without any kind of hesitation. And there was also this, you know, at one point we were dancing one evening, and I suddenly recognized that there was this enormous amount of energy flowing through my arms, and I got the feeling that I could actually start to move objects. So I tried to take my hand, or the energy of my hand, and projected it onto another person in the room that was standing maybe 5 meters away. And she didn't see what I was doing, but I was actually, with my energy, I was pushing, I was aiming at you know, putting pressure on her side here. And I could see her looking down on her side and like, what's this? What is happening here? And then he saw me, and then she saw me standing with my arm like this, and she was like, oh! And I was just as amazed as she was. I didn't have a clue that it was possible. But then I felt like, okay, I probably shouldn't play around with this because it scares people, and I can understand that. And there was all kind of experiences, but the really wonderful thing was not the experiences, even though they were wonderful. It was the realization that, because the nature of experiences is that they come and they go, but this, what I am, doesn't come and go. So it's what I am is eternity, but not the way you would think of eternity. It's much, much simpler. It's so incredibly obvious. And it can only be realized through being it. You can never see it as an object outside of yourself or separate from yourself. It's not that kind of realization. It's an inclusive realization. It's an including realization. And it's also inexpressible, completely impossible to express or nail correctly. And that's why I really love the saying from Tao Te Ching. It says, the Tao that can't be spoken or written is not the eternal Tao. So it's very, I really resonate a lot with that. And that was in January 2007. And it would take me 10 years of refining and refining and refining my songwriting till I was eventually able to actually express this in a song, what had happened during this retreat. And I knew, you know, when this music started to come forward, I immediately knew that I wanted to write a song about this, not so much for myself, but as a gratitude song to Nukunu. But it really, it wouldn't happen. It just wouldn't happen. But then, 10 years later, in the fall of 2017, I got an assignment on a training that I participated in. I got an assignment to write a gratitude letter. And I immediately knew that I would write this to Nukunu. And this gratitude letter exercise eventually unfolded into the song that I had been wanting to write since 2007. And I think that it's a good... I want to play it for you now, a live version. You can find it on Spotify. It's called Divine Masquerade. But for now I will play a live version here. And it's also something about this realization that for me it brought about so much creativity and it unleashed creative self-expression. So that is also something that I'm very passionate about and something that seems to be connected to my retreats and my sharings, that people get inspired to express themselves more authentically. And that brings me so much joy to hear. Okay, here comes Divine Masquerade. Like a bird from the open wide, you pick the seeds of time out of my hand. Your song moved in me like a tide, swept away the notion of identity like a footprint in the sand. Into the unknown, into the unborn, I where sinner and saint are one and the same in this divine masquerade. Nothing could hold back the laughter. The joy of being kept me wide awake all night. And gratitude ever after, greater than love, greater than light. You made me to soar into the unknown, into the unborn. Where sinner and saint are one and the same in this divine masquerade. You said, Buddha, got it, you said no one has ever got it, you said I never got it. You will never get it, 'cause you cannot get what you already are. And you made me the soul into the unknown, into the unborn. In this divine masquerade. Yes, so this is going to be, I'm really looking forward to facilitate this retreat on between the 18th and the 21st of August at Shambhala Gatherings. There's a link down below in the comments where you can find more information about the retreat. And hope to connect with you in future videos and future songs. Bye for now. Thank you.